Hi guys, I just finished recording this video and I realized that I forgot to turn my mic on. So here we are for attempt number 2. Last night, I finished a stream where I just did a bunch of Gambas for fun. In my experience in Path of Exile 2, these Gambas are generally, a lot of times they're overlooked as just being like degenerate shit. A lot of the time, if you look at the right time and if you go at the right price points, they are incredibly profitable Gambas. And that is exactly what is the case for what was the price points for the Adorned Gamba. The way this Gamba works is there's 4 pieces. They're called like something aspect. You can see here it's curiosity, cooperation, beauty, ambition. Right. The side pieces look like this. So there's one on the right side, one on the left side, one in the middle, and then one on the bottom. This middle one is the most expensive part by far. It's probably like 75% of the whole thing, if not more. But yeah, you essentially just put them together and it'll pop together and it'll give you an Adorned. So the Adorned is this jewel right here. It's pretty broken for some builds. I know a lot of bow builds use it, but essentially what it does is it just makes it so if you corrupt a magic jewel and the jewel has to be magic specifically, it will give you a percentage increase to the effect of that jewel. And the broken part here is that it rolls from 0% to 100%. So you can have potentially double effect. This stuff gets to be quite valuable. So like, let me show you a little bit of the data that I collected during doing these 88 rolls. The first 25 I did, I profited 10 div, but I got really unlucky, right? The way these Gambas work, the pricing for them is that you make almost all of your money off of hitting like the big ticket jewels. So there's this concept called like the Pareto's principle, which is just like a general concept. This I think is like a monk or a friar named Pareto. He kind of discovered that just like in any like this, it's like a universal law that like in any population, sample size, whatever, you get 80% of the results out of 20% of the population. And the Adorns are also like a case like that, maybe a little bit more extreme in the sense that you're getting 95% of your value out of just like 10-20% of the population. If you look here, we hit 3 73% jewels, and those were worth around 4.5 div each, right? But 189% jewel is worth easily all 3 of these combined, plus a little bit more. And as you can see in this first leg, we only hit 3, 6, 7. We hit 7 jewels that were worth anything, and none of them were 90%. And then the second leg, we rolled another 25 jewels, and we only hit 1 that was 90% or more, and we only hit 1 that was 80% or more. On average, right, if it's like, 25 rolls, we're supposed to hit 2.5 that are 80 to 90, 2.5 that are 90 to 100, you know what I mean, 2.5 that are 70 to 80. But we got pretty unlucky here, and yet we were still able to profit, right? We were still able to profit, and as you can see in like the next run, where it's like more of like what you would kind of expect out of rolls, we actually were able to profit kind of enormously. We got a little bit lucky here, but at the same time, it's not like insanely lucky. We did 20 rolls, we hit 3 90 pluses. They were obviously on the top end of the 90, but even if they weren't, it would still have been quite a nice chunk of profit. And then in the last 18, we got lucky, or we were just like average luck here. We got a 91 and a 98, and 2 80s, which is kind of like, this is kind of like more like what you're supposed to expect out of 20 rolls is, you roll 20 times, you're supposed to see 2 that are 90 plus, you're supposed to see 2 that are 80 to 90. That's just kind of like mathematically what you're expected to see. But overall, right, the total profit that we saw out of all 88 of these was, where is it here? Total revenue was 304 div is what we made off of all of these jewels. Now, if you're looking here, I wasn't actually able to sell these because these were like at the end of the night, and I had to go to bed, blah, blah, blah. To be conservative, I took a 10% reduction on the price just so I can kind of give you guys the numbers at a more conservative level. But everything else pretty much just sold. Like, I'm pretty confident on these numbers. These ones I'm also pretty confident on, but like I said, I didn't sell it, so I didn't want to count it as what it would be. I just took a haircut, whatever. Anyways, the revenue was 304 div, and the cost was 176 div. At the cost of 176 div for 88 adorned jewel materials, that puts it at 2 div per full set. And I know for a fact that's not going to be the case right now. I did this in front of like a lot of people, and I was doing it throughout the whole day, and it just became very, very obvious very early that these were going to be really broken. And I kind of did this analysis on stream yesterday as well. So I'm not surprised that the cost has gone up, and I expect the cost to continue going up. once people figure out that like even though it went up, it's still incredibly profitable, which I'm about to get into in a second. But yeah, I was paying only 2 div per Adorned here. I got pretty unlucky, I think. Like if you look, how many 90 pluses did I see? 0 here, 1 here, 3 here. So that's 4 plus 2. That's 6. So we only saw 6 99 or 90 pluses out of 88 rolls. We're expected to see 8.8 there. So we got pretty unlucky there. I'm going to go over the calculations for like what your expected value should be. If you look right now, the price of the middle piece, which is the most expensive piece, what's it called? Aspect of Ambition, it's like 2.5, 2.7 div right now. I was looking earlier, there's a bunch for 2.7. I would be happy to call it just 2.7, and then the rest of the pieces are still like half a div. This 2 div cost, this cost here is no longer feasible anymore. It's now closer to 3.2, maybe even 3.5 if you're unlucky. But the good news is that doesn't really matter in terms of the profitability for this method. I mean, it does matter because you're going to be making less profit, but this method is still enormously profitable. And I'll go into the math behind that in a second. But like I said earlier with the Pareto's Principle shit, most of the profitability is in the big ticket items, which means you're going to need a lot of rolls in order to hit those big ticket 95 plus jewels. The most extreme example of this is how much does a 100 Adorned cost? Right now, a 100 Adorned looks like it costs around 300 div. So what that means is this. How many rolls does it take to hit a 100% Adorned? The rolls are 0 to 100. So there are 101 different possible rolls, and to my knowledge, they are all weighted the same. So the odds of hitting a 101 or a 100 is the same as the odds of hitting a 0. What that means is that it takes 101 rolls on average. Let's just call it 100, just so it's like easier mathematically, to hit a 100. How much does 100 rolls cost? Right now, let's just assume that it's 3.2 div, because that's what it is right now. So that means it'll cost you on average 320 div to roll 100 jewels, and 100 jewels you're expected to see 100. The price of a 100 is 300 div. That means if you exclude the value of every other jewel in the pool, the 99s, the 98s, everything, opening Adorned's it's like barely breaking even, right? Barely not breaking even. But conversely, if you add the values of the incredibly valuable jewels, what does the profitability look like? On the lower end, like a 90 is looking like 28 div. On the higher end, a 99, 98 is looking like 50 plus div. But let's just assume it's like 40. Let's just be really conservative, right? And just say the average is like 35 div for a 90 plus. That's still very nice. So 90 to 99 is equal to 35 div on average. Well, what about 80s? Well, looks like 8 div for the minimum, and then what is this? Around 25 div for 89. Let's just be conservative again and call it like 15 div. So then 80 to 89 is equal to 15 div on average. If we just assume below 80 is like 0 profit, which like let's be real, it's not. Like I'm pretty sure a 75 is worth like 5 div. Like let's just be conservative here and just say like anything below an 80 is worth 0 div. Okay, you lose the whole value of the set on it. If we roll 100 jewels, right? Again, 100 jewels, you will expect to see 10 jewels in the 90 to 99 range on average. And you will expect to see 10 jewels in the 80 to 89 range on average, which means you can just 10x these values. Which means if you just include the 80 to 99 range, you will be making 500 div in 100 jewels. And again, the cost of the jewel is only 3.2 div. So that means in 100 rolls, you're making 500 div, and it costs you 320 div, which means you are profiting 180 div, assuming everything below an 80 is worthless. And also assuming that you're not even gonna hit a 100. 100 is not even an option. You are making 500 div. The expected value of your profit is going to be around 180 div, excluding 100s. But keep in mind, there is a chance to hit 100, a very strong chance. On average, you will hit 100% in 100 rolls. If you include the value of the 320 div plus 320 D for the 100, your expected return is 400 div profit. I don't know why, but like when I was doing these, people in chat were telling me that this was like the dumbest gamble ever. This is guaranteed loss of money, blah, blah, blah. But maybe it's something like historically Adorns are bad Gambas, or I'm not sure exactly what. Maybe that was kind of a benefit of not being a PoE1 veteran. I don't really have the biases or the assumptions that like some players did, but I was looking at just purely from a mathematical perspective. I just looked at like, okay, like how much is an 80%? An 80% is fucking 8 div. How much is a 90%? 90% is 30 div. If we just assume that like that's all you can get is 8 div or 30 div, then it's still like 80 div on average for the 80% to 80 to 90, and then 30 div on average for the 90 pluses. That is 380 div. At the time, it only cost like 200 div in order to do 100. So at the most conservative level, it's just very obvious that this is profitable. My point here though is just like, do the math. And it doesn't have to be like advanced math. Do the bare minimum due diligence of just like back of the napkin math. If you're gonna do this and you look at this video like tomorrow, the next day, whatever, all the numbers could be completely off, right? You could look and like it costs 5 div for a set. 90% adorns are only worth 15 div. It's not gonna be profitable anymore. Or, you know, you could be looking at this video like 2 months from now and the numbers are like wonky in a different way. My point is though, is just like, there's a lot of these Gambas out there that are 100% profitable. Like this one is 100% profitable. The ROI on this is like, if you put in 1 div, you're supposed to be making like 2.5. That is how this works. Assuming, of course, a point that I was kind of trying to make earlier, which is that there's a high variance in this, right? If you look at my sample, the first 50 adorns that I did, I only saw 190 plus. I would have actually lost money on all 50 of these at the current price. I would have lost 30 div here on this first set of 50. Insanely profitable thing, but I still rolled 50 and I got incredibly unprofitable. But if you just look at my last 38, I would have still profited 100 div on these 38. The variance for this method is incredibly high. I just want to kind of get this out there because I don't know, a lot of people in chat were just like under the assumption that this was just like a really stupid Gamba, that it was negative EV, but like, you know, you can do the math, and I kind of just showed you an example for how you can kind of just do some back of the envelope math to like just kind of figure out whether or not a Gamba is profitable or not. I just kind of wanted to shed some light on this incredibly profitable Gamba method. You don't need to 50-50 try and double your divine cards anymore. You can get the same degenerate Gamba dopamine from something that is pretty much 100+% ROI, return on your investment. Anyways, that's all I really had. I don't want to ramble on too long. If you like the video, then please like the video. If you have any questions, please just write in the comment section. I love to answer questions, and I'm going to be in an airplane for like the next 10 hours tomorrow with nothing to do besides answer YouTube questions. So feel free to send anything you guys have there. Yeah, I hope this was helpful. Please subscribe if it was. I have a lot of more content in the pipeline with this kind of stuff. I'm going to go into like how you can profit craft axes with the Recombobinator. I talked to Buttsicles, the guy who made the Reddit post and did all the research on it. I talked to a lot of people, and I have a lot more really good videos coming up. So definitely subscribe if you want to see more content like this. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it this far, good luck.